It hasn't even been a week since the horrific massacre at the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, and people have wasted no time to proudly proclaim their bloodlust and bigotry, with every channel in the corporate media featuring resident experts on the Islamic faith.
You basically have zones where Sharia courts are set up, where Muslim density is very intense, where the police don't go in, and where it's basically a separate country almost, a country within a country.
You know what it sounds like to me, Steve? It sounds like a caliphate within a particular country.
And in Britain, it's not just no-go zones. There are actual cities like Birmingham that are totally Muslim, where non-Muslims just simply don't go in.
Sharia courts have been allowed to be established. Prayer rugs in just about every hotel. Is this a major mistake made by France, Europe in general? Are we making that mistake in the United States, not insisting on assimilation?
16% of French citizens support ISIS. Would you describe those who support ISIS as Islamic extremists? Do you support ISIS?
I do hold Muslims responsible to this degree. I don't think that we can solve this problem, Don, until moderate Muslims really speak out, really say, this is not our religion, this is not something we can accept.
See, that last point would be really convenient if only it were true. In reality, you'd be hard-pressed to find a single Muslim organization or community leader that hasn't vehemently condemned the attacks, including some right here on this show. But facts don't satisfy people like Rupert Murdoch, who's hell-bent on insisting that all Muslims are responsible for the actions of a few crazy people who associate themselves with the religion. Not only does this warped mentality scapegoat 1.6 billion people on Earth, but it also washes away the fact that Muslims were victims of the attack as well. And not just victims, heroes, like Lassana Bathily, an immigrant from Mali who shepherded customers into the freezer to hide while working at the deli under siege. Or Ahmed Merabet, the cop who died confronting the gunmen as they wreaked havoc on Charlie Hebdo's headquarters. There's also little mention of the 33 threats and 21 attacks on Muslim institutions in France in the wake of the massacre, from shooting at Islamic buildings to throwing grenades at mosques. So while pundits like to blame Islam for not understanding the right to free speech, remember that Ahmed worked to defend the magazine's right to mock his religion every day, and in fact died doing just that. But moderates aren't the only Muslims who have condemned the attack. So-called radical Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah publicly declared that extremists hurt Islam more than cartoons. See, insisting on collectively punishing 1/5 of the world's population invokes an arrogant colonial attitude that only seems to be leveled in the wake of Islamic terrorism, when the truth is that no Muslim should have to condemn an attack that has nothing to do with them. If a person's psychotic enough to go and kill people, they'll find reason. And amidst the nonstop media coverage of Islam's inability to laugh at itself, there's been little mention of the fact that countries across Europe already place restrictions on freedom of speech. In France, those limitations have disproportionately targeted Muslims, whether it's banning the niqab headscarf in public or certain pro-Palestinian demonstrations, or denying the Holocaust. Yes, in many EU countries, legislation exists that criminalizes Holocaust denialism and anti-Semitism, a slippery slope that some say could include criticism of Israel, which is why the greatest irony of all is that Charlie Hebdo itself fired a columnist in 2009 for publishing an anti-Semitic cartoon. But hey, they laugh at everyone, right? Look, no matter how reprehensible certain language may be, if you're defending free speech on one end, it better be applied across the board. Of course, acknowledging this unequal reality doesn't serve the mighty clash of civilizations narrative that politicians and establishment media have been peddling since 9/11. The notion that violent tension between Islam and the West is inevitable. Born-again Christian George W. Bush himself said he was on a mission from God when he launched the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq, invoking religion many times before enacting murderous policies. Not to mention Eric Prince, former Blackwater CEO of the mercenary force enlisted to carry out America's dirty work, who views himself as a Christian crusader tasked with eliminating Muslims from the earth. Interestingly, I don't remember the outcry about Christian fanaticism causing the deaths of over 1 million Iraqis. Aside from its pure insanity, this type of crusader language only exacerbates the jihadists' belief that they're indeed fighting a holy war with the West, thus justifying their martyrdom. Overall, this attack is not about Islam. It's not about childlike concepts of good and evil. It's about a system that breeds inequality and oppression, the outcomes of which are exploited, the causes complex. It's not a fight between Islam and the West. It's a fight between the most extreme and militarized ideologues on all sides. And too often,